What's up, guys? Welcome to Keeping It Local. This is episode 17. I sat down and talked with Sal Gaglio from Reliant Renovations. And if you're a homeowner who's sitting on tons of equity, like so many of us are, you definitely want to watch this episode because Sal has so much knowledge about what you could do in your home and a lot of the trends that are going on for people to expand their space and upgrade their space. So check it out and let's get started with the show. All right, welcome back to episode 17, and I am very happy to have a special guest on here from Reliant Renovations, Sal Gaglio. What's up, Sal? How you doing?
Hey, John, how's everything going?
Everything's good. Another fun night of podcasting. Never thought I'd be doing this, but here we are.
Oh, nice. Happy to be here.
Hey, thanks for coming because I have a lot of important questions. I've kind of been doing this series about homeowners and equity and what people can do. So I'm really happy to have you on because you are an expert in renovations, obviously, and you know so much in this area. But before we get into what people can do with their equity, I just want to get started with you and Reliant Renovations. Like, how did that start? How did you get into the business? Tell me all about that.
All right. So for me, it's been a little bit of an interesting backstory. I went to college for construction management and civil engineering. So I actually was educated on, construction management, the processes, blueprint reading, and I had a civil engineering background. So that was where it started for me when I was in college. And then actually, as soon as I got out of college, I completely forgot about my degree. I wanted nothing to do with it. And I was a full-time stagehand. And
Wow. Okay.
yep, you know what? I went to college because it was something that I felt that I almost had to do growing up. I was always told you better finish college, so I did it. I did well. I enjoyed it, but it was all for the purpose of just crossing it off the list so I could be the best stagehand that I could possibly be. And that's kind of where my career started in the rigging industry and the entertainment industry. And I did that for 6 years full time, and then I left that industry because just the heavy labor just started to take a toll on me. And that's when I actually finally fell back on my degree. And I went and worked for a general contractor that specialized in airport construction. And I started on the LaGuardia Airport project and slowly migrated towards the JFK project. And that's where I was able to then integrate the experience that I had from college. It all came back to me. And it was just, you know, it started to just rekindle that in me, and everything I learned as a stagehand kind of transferred through because I had my job site experience. I was used to constructing large projects in short time periods. It was just now using that knowledge from college. So worked for that contractor for 6 years. After that, I decided I've been working at the airport long enough. It's time for something new, and I went and I worked for another contractor in Manhattan, and I did interior renovations all over the city. I did that for 2 years. And then at that point, I felt I had a really good foundation as a construction manager and I saw all types of different construction. I said, you know what? I think now I feel confident. These companies have showed me the proper way to run construction sites, how to build, everything was there. And I said, it's time for me to start my own company. So I then left that job in the city, and here I am now 2 years later with my own company, doing all types of renovations. I do some commercial work. It's mostly focused right now on residential. And that's kind of how I came to be with Reliant Renovations and having my company right now and sitting in front of you having this podcast.
That's pretty crazy. All right. So you've got an extremely diverse background as
Yeah.
far as your experience is concerned, which, I mean, you put in 12 years of work in related areas before you decided, okay, I'm going to go renovate homes, which is pretty incredible. Now, sorry, I dropped my pad. I dropped my pad. That's a first. So my first question is to follow up on that is like, you said that you felt prepared to start construction in residential properties. So I guess scale is was there a big difference scaling down from major commercial projects like that into home renovation projects? Like, I'm sure there's different pressure points in both areas. So tell me what was like easier about that transition to residential, but what was also more difficult.
So what made it a little easier was I actually was doing the work myself for the first year. So I did my own framing. I did my own drywall. I would paint. I would have my own plumber, my own electrician do those things. But that was how I kind of dipped my toe into the world before I decided that I was going to just full out start working in people's homes. I started doing it as an owner operator. I was doing my own tile work, doing my own demo, and friends and family then started referring me to other people. So I also did that work hands on myself for the whole year prior to starting my company full time. I was doing that work on the side while still having that full time position, just so I could kind of see what that world was like. So that helped me kind of gauge what the transition would be like. And then the transition kind of came to light for me, where I was like, you know what? Some of the difficult parts were the scale was a lot smaller, but the intricacies were just as high, because a lot of the renovations that I did when I was at the airport, for instance, were always tenant occupied spaces. Maybe I don't have to do night work in somebody's house because the space is occupied during the day, but
Mm.
even more difficult is I have to take away their kitchen, which is their only source of cooking in their
Right.
home now. They don't have that for maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So that's where the different pressure point would be, where it would be like, all right, now I'm not just renovating a bathroom within an airport where there might be 40 other bathrooms and you can just put some signage up and send people in a different direction. This may be at sometimes the only bathroom in this person's house.
Mm. So it's a
So,
lot of pressure on the homeowner, yeah, because
yeah,
like you said, they might not have another opportunity. They might not have family close by where they can go and cook or use the bathroom, use the shower. So I guess
yeah,
those timelines got to be really, really solid, right? Like you got to get them done in the time you're going to say you get them done.
100%. It's all about the scheduling, and it's all about putting in front, an expectation that you can meet. And that transition wasn't difficult for me because I did that extrapolated over sometimes, 6 month project where the
Mm,
schedule had to be met. Not that it's any easier because it's 3 weeks, because now you're compacting it into that 3 week period. But
mhm.
the scheduling aspect of it was something that I was comfortable with because I had the experience with it, which is why I really do find a bit of confidence in when I tell a client something will be done. I don't say it only based off of the fact that I've been able to achieve it that way, but I do it because every time I know I can predicate what needs to happen on what days in order to make sure we meet those dates. So
Mm,
that's something that's definitely important with the schedule, especially when you're working in people's homes and you're taking away those aspects that they need in order to live there.
right. I mean, that for me, especially with real estate, one of the similarities here is I find setting expectations is so crucial
Yeah.
to having the client be happy and comfortable and satisfied with what you're doing, because to me there's nothing worse than overselling and underdeliver. I'd rather undersell you and overdeliver. But what are some of the things that you do specifically, because you clearly have the mindset of I am going to set these expectations right away and make sure that they understand the process. So what are some of the things you do to let the client know about the expectations? Hey, what's up, guys? John from the Nest Egg team here. Thank you for watching so far. Really quickly, the real estate market is constantly changing. So if you're wondering what your home value is or how much equity you have in your home currently, click the link below in the description and you'll find out very quickly. Thanks for watching. Let's get back to the show.
So one of the things that I do is I give a very detailed estimate. And I feel like that's one of the most important things that kind of outline the relationship that it's going to be between me and the client before we even get under contract.
Mm,
So I don't ever give out estimates that just say plumbing, electrical, HVAC, carpentry with numbers. I
okay.
give you a detailed scope of what I'm doing within my carpentry. If I'm relocating a doorway, which doorway it is, what's the size of the door, where it's going. And I get very detailed. If we're doing a kitchen renovation, if there's plumbing scope, like you're getting new valves, you're getting a new trap, we're setting your sink. That's how I outline my expectations before you've even hired me. So when you look at my estimate and you compare it to other estimates, because I always tell my clients you should get more than one number, it's just your due diligence. Compare those numbers and compare those two estimates. And at that point, you'll see, all right, working with Sal, he already has my scope so detailed and outlined that I know exactly what I'm getting for this price. Whereas maybe some of these other estimates aren't as concise, and now there's a lot of gray area. And that right there just kind of opens up how I set my expectations with my clients. And I also give durations in
Mm,
my estimates too. Usually 4 to 6 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. there's always a little bit of a leeway in there because some things get back ordered. You know, sometimes things are out of our control, but
Right.
that have that little bit, and then we stick to that. We stick to that that schedule that we outline.
Right. Cause I say this all the time. With my buddies who are doing construction and everything, you never know where you're going to find when you start opening up walls. Right. I mean, it could set you back a while. Have you had any like crazy situations that you could share, like where something unexpected, not because of what you did, but maybe you're opening up a wall and you found something ridiculous, or like, I don't know. Have you seen anything crazy that like pops into your head?
So luckily, nothing too like outlandish or you know out of the box. But just last week, we started a kitchen renovation, and once we pulled all the cabinets off the wall, I always let clients know from the get-go that as an unforeseen condition, something that I don't know about is what's behind those walls. So that's an expectation. They know there might be a charge there. There might be something that none of us know exists. We
Mhm.
took those cabinets off the wall. There was moldy sheetrock.
Ah, yep.
Nothing too crazy, you know, it happens. We took the sheetrock down and the framing was absolutely disintegrated. I mean,
Oh
it
wow.
wasn't water damaged. We needed to do a complete replacement of the top plate, the bottom plate. We needed to replace, I think it was about four studs along that elevation. And then when we went to do the demolition on the opposite side of the kitchen, this is more of a galleyway style kitchen. When we removed those cabinets off the bottom, there was actually an ant infestation.
Oh wow. Oh.
So this was one of the first times I had to get an exterminator on the horn quickly because again, this is what you just mentioned. Like this is one of those unforeseen conditions that as much as it could affect the schedule, if I could mitigate it and I could get somebody there the next day when I have everything ripped out, then I don't have to impact the schedule too bad and I can save the client that money because I'm on top of what's going on my projects.
Right.
So we opened the wall up. There were ants, a lot of ants. There was the yeah, it was bad. So we vacuumed them up. That's what we can do to mitigate it at the moment. We got rid of all the ants that we could see. And then I had the very next afternoon, I had my exterminator there and he sprayed for ants. We had, at that point, what we did was we opened up the bottom half of the entire kitchen and we sprayed the whole bottom half of the kitchen because once again, I'm there already. I don't want to give them a product that's finished and then they have another ant infestation on the opposite side. So we sprayed the whole bottom half the next morning, got that taken care of for them. I repaired the framing the next morning. But that's definitely probably one of the crazier things that I've seen so far. And it's just so happens it was last week.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.
No, but it's so important that people realize, and I feel like, people who are up in years and have done renovation, they understand this, they know this, they don't need to
Yeah.
hear this. But people who are younger, like younger homeowners, a lot of people that I work with are first time home buyers, like this is what happens. It happens so, and you probably have the numbers way. I would say this happens 65 to 75% of the times when you start opening up walls, you find things that just need to be mitigated. Like it could be
Yeah.
ants, and you think about the other side of that. What if you don't find it, and then you do all this work and you make a brand new beautiful kitchen, and all of a sudden that ant starts popping out and someone's like, hey, to fix this problem, we got to get behind these cabinets. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my God, like I just spent X amount of dollars, thousands of dollars, and now I've got to rip it all out and do it again. So these are things that happen, but it's so important for people to know that like this can happen, this will happen. I love that you put that out up front, that like there are unforeseen things that we're going to get into, because again, I feel like I've seen contractors do it where they're like, oh, it's a piece of cake, I do this, I do this, they brush it. It's like the magician thing.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh crap, wait, like this is happening, oh my God, wait, you have to replace the entire wall of studs, you have to replace the sheathing, like everything, it's all rotted to the core. And then you're out X amount of thousands of dollars later. But you never, if you're not told that expectation up front and you're someone who's new to renovations, this is something you really don't know. So I think I commend you on doing that. That's like
Like,
totally awesome.
and I have to say that's because of my commercial construction background. I've read through contracts and we read through drawings where if you touch it, you own it. And that's the world that you live in when you're in that world.
Mm.
So I want to treat my clients in residential with that same regard. And it covers both of us because me too, as a contractor, I want to build a good relationship. So I don't want a client to come back to me and say, well, didn't you know it's an old house? Didn't you know that you were going to have to replace? No, some of these houses are framed with the best lumber that you can't do. Lumber's not made that way anymore. I'd
Mm.
rather have that framing if it's in great shape than have the new stuff. But that's why you have to cover yourself and let these expectations be known up front so that you don't get into those uncomfortable conversations that could have just been avoided with a simple conversation before the project starts.
Yeah, see, and that's interesting. Now, I don't know, you might have an answer to this, you might not, but it jogged something in my memory where someone was explaining to me like the construction periods in the United States and like the good periods and the bad periods. And I don't remember, I should remember what they are. I want to say like the 50s or 60s were like a very good construction period, and then like the 70s it got bad for a bit, and then like it picked up in the 80s and then got shitty in the 90s again. Like so I don't know, but you probably have more of a sense of what you're looking at to know like, yeah, this is good construction, like this was
Exactly.
done right.
Exactly. I mean, when you open up a wall, whether you're looking at something that's quality or you're looking at something that was, haphazardly done or thrown together by, different type of contractor that wasn't really looking out for the best interest, or some of these houses were built, in a large scale volume, and it was just kind of like not thrown together, but it was just kind of like more about the volume, so maybe the quality wasn't there. Like some of those things come up, and those things when you see them. But
Right.
yeah, definitely it's always a surprise when you start opening up things, and when you're working in somebody's house.
Yeah, just got to be ready for it. That's it. Set the expectation.
Yeah.
um I want to shift into a business question because it seemed like you were working a lot for companies, other people, other business owners, what have you. Did you always have the entrepreneurial spirit, the drive that you wanted to at some point be on your own and do this, or was it just after a while you were like, I can do this, and then decided?
That's a great question, because people would be surprised at the answer. I wanted nothing to do with owning my own business.
Mm,
I
interesting.
never wanted it. I grew up and my father owned his own mechanic shop and body shop. He had a very successful business, but I also didn't go on any vacations growing up with my family. My father worked Saturdays and Sundays. It was the way he ran the business was different. It was successful, but it was definitely very hands-on approach. And that being the only business owner that I had seen run a business at that age, I said, I'm going to work for the union. I can go in, work when I want to work. I get paid well. I get benefits. I don't have to worry about this or that. And I saw it as a less stressful alternative. So I never really wanted to own my own business.
Mm,
And it wasn't until it actually wasn't until probably the last 5 years that I started to surround myself with other people around my age, people like yourself, like individuals who just had that different mindset that kind of made me feel like, there is another option here. I know you didn't want to do it, but maybe it's something that you should try. And I had a friend of mine who's a very successful entrepreneur, has his own business, and he kind of showed me the light, so to speak, because he did it. And I was impressed. And he kept on telling me, you could do this, man. He goes, you're better at this than I am. He goes, you know this so well. He's like, if you did this, you'd be so successful. I believe in you. And it's so crazy to hear that, because like sometimes all it takes is the right people around you to help you change your mindset and help you understand that maybe there is the possibility of you doing something that you never thought that you would want to do or be capable of doing. So I do have to accredit it to a lot of that one person individually, a good friend of mine, and a lot of other entrepreneurs like yourself, like other people who are doing it, and they show you, and you guys all, everyone networks together, and they kind of help you grow. And that's so, yeah, never wanted to do it from the beginning, but definitely the best decision that I've made, and I'm very happy to be in the position that I'm in right now, where I can do this.
That's really cool. That's a different response than I've heard from the other 16 people that I've done this podcast with.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
It's
Different stuff.
usually everybody has that burning, like, I always wanted to do it, I always, and it reminds me, because you're talking about your dad. So my grandfather, back in Brooklyn in the old days, he owned a hardware store.
Nice.
And the hardware store was like, the house was, let me see if I could do this with the reverse camera. Like the hardware store was here, the house was here, like 150 feet away.
Yep.
So he had an intercom. He was like the first person with an intercom in Brooklyn ever. He had an intercom from the store to the house to buzz my grandmother, like, and lunch, and like, boom, So he did very well with it. He knew like everything. My grandfather drew the blueprints to the house that he built, well, that he
Wow.
had built. He drew them himself. He never learned or was taught how to draw blueprints, and he took them to an
Yeah.
engineer, and the guy was like, who drew these prints for you? He's like, I did. So he just like, he was very talented in that way, and he just figured stuff out. But he told my dad, like, when my dad worked in the store growing up as a kid, worked for the family business. But he said to my dad, you could have it if you want, but it's a prison. So there's two ways of looking at it. It's like some people, like, he viewed that business as like, I'm here, I'm stuck here, this is what I have to do. I don't
Yeah.
have any freedom to get outside of that. So my dad and my mom too, but my dad was a teacher. Like, he became a teacher, and he had that time and the union job and everything. And like, and
Yep.
I still do too. But like, I look at business now and like the opportunity to like grow a real estate business. To me, it's freedom. It's like, you
Yep.
could create something where you're always going to work. That's the thing. Like, I think people have a misconception. Like, you're never not going to work, but you're also going to love what you're doing, and you have the ability to create something that could potentially give you some type of freedom, whether it's financial freedom, whether it's just family freedom, where you're able to do more and go on more vacations. There is, if you look at it through that lens, there's a lot of
Yep.
freedom that you could gain from the entrepreneurial side and like owning your own business. And there's, the monetary aspects of it.
Of
Like, you
course.
make more, you can make more working for yourself than you ever could working for the union. That's just another side of it. But benefits, vacation time, all those things. So to me, it's just a balancing act. It's like, what do you really want out of your work, out of your life? Like, do you want the balance? Do you want enough money that you could do anything? Do you want as much time off as you can? Those are the things you have to figure out. But I like your path. It's different, but it's cool.
Yeah. I have to say too, I loved what I did at all stages of my career. I loved being a stagehand. I still have my local 4 union card. I still pay my dues, and occasionally I will pop in and work some jobs with my guys. I still love that work. That is something I'm very passionate about. I love the contract I worked for the airport, and I love the contract I worked for in the city. I was always happy. I just, like you said, I decided I wanted to do something different with my time, and I work more now than I did then. So it's not that I did it because I wanted to work less. It's just I'm putting that time in for myself now. It's just a different return on my time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said too about working with people in their homes and making them happy in that sense. There's a highly rewarding factor in that,
There is. There is.
Yeah, definitely different. Now, just really quick about the stagehand, did you work on any shows that we might know, or like meet any celebrities that people would be interested in?
I mean, if there's been any artist that's been to the Barclays Center, there's a chance that I hung that show, and
Oh, that's where you worked?
I was primarily at the Barclays Center,
Oh,
City
okay.
Field, all the summer shows that we do there. I've done numerous electric zoos, gov balls, and Beyonce and 50 Cent concerts. I mean, every major performer that's gone through the tri-state area, I've built those shows, and I've been a part of those productions to hang the speakers, put the lighting up, and put all the effort in with all the guys that I work with, which are a great group of guys. I love those guys. They're amazing. Um, I've worked all of those shows, and it's been great. I've worked in Central Park. I've built towers and climbed towers for like 65, 70 feet in City Field. I mean,
Oh,
I did
wow.
the Chelsea Piers golf course. Those are 150-foot towers. I climbed those for like a steel. And I've done awesome stuff.
I'm starting to sweat. Like, I'm getting
I've
terrified thinking of that. Like,
it's been really cool. It's been really cool. Great experiences and just fun stuff that I've done through my time as a stagehand, which is why that industry just. I drove all kinds of equipment, boom lifts, articulating lifts. I mean, that industry prepared me for everything that construction has.
that's crazy. I won't get on my roof and it's a ranch. Like,
That's why people are like, oh, you do roofing? I'm like, I have no issue going on a roof. I used to climb steel that was over 100 feet up in the
oh,
Barclay. Like, I'm on a roof. I feel safe. It's fine.
oh, God, that is just terrifying. Heights just get me now. Like, there's no chance. I have no business being more than like 6 feet off the ground at this point in my life. And no one wants me up there, and I don't want to be up there. So we're all in agreement on that. All right, let's talk about some renovations because
Cool.
what I was talking about at the beginning, we're seeing homeowners are sitting on just crazy amounts of equity, more equity than we've had in the history of tracking this stuff. Houses have appreciated hundreds of thousands of dollars in the last 5 years. Now, what are you seeing as a lot of let me rephrase that. Are you seeing certain trends with people in home construction and their renovations and using that equity? Hey, what's up, guys? John from the Nest Egg team here. Thank you for watching so far. Really quickly, the real estate market is constantly changing. So if you're wondering what your home value is or how much equity you have in your home currently, click the link below in the description and you'll find out very quickly. Thanks for watching. Let's get back to the show.
I definitely. So I'm sure you know more about this on your side, but whether these people are leveraging their homes via a HELOC or whatever they're doing to get that money out,
Mhm.
when they do have those funds, they're sticking to a lot of the core things that bring value to the home: the bathrooms, the kitchens. Um, a lot of the trends, though, I see are all of like the smart home technology.
Mm,
That's a huge one.
okay.
All of the Nest thermostats, the lighting that you can either connect to Google Home or get it through your phone, or hey Siri, turn the lights on in my living room. The integration of all the smart technology is huge when I'm doing a lot of interior renovations, and that even goes down to the appliances. You have all these appliances that you can also access through your app now too. You could preheat your oven. You could make sure your oven's off. You can check what's inside your fridge. Like, people want these creature comforts now because they're not so you know, unattainable like they once were. Now everything's kind of within people's grasp. Things are more affordable.
Mm,
Um, Even like right now, I'm sitting in a hotel room because myself and two of my guys are here for a Schluter system certification, because we want to be able to install these waterproofing Schluter systems for people in their bathrooms, and these Dietrich heat mats that do all the radiant heat, because that's another trend in the. I mean, if you look at the way bathrooms were built, waterproofing, people didn't even do waterproofing back then. They used to just do sheetrock with mastic and tile and say, oh, the tile is the waterproofing. And then we
mhm.
moved in another avenue where people were doing, red guard, and they were liquid applied. And now you have this new system that the whole assembly is waterproof. There's no more sheetrock. There's no more cement board. You have these opportunities where you can use these other materials. The cost may be a little higher to use the material, but it's more efficient to build with. It's faster. It's lightweight, so you have more longevity out of the individual who's installing it, because you're not breathing in all of these, silica dust from cement board. So, like, that's just another trend that's happening too, is people are moving towards these new systems. I have clients that come to me, oh, do you do the Schluter system? And I'm saying, how do you even know about that? Because they know this is what people are doing in their homes to protect their investment. They want to make sure that that bathroom is 100% watertight. They don't want leaks down the road affecting the kitchen that they just did because the bathroom above it wasn't waterproof properly.
Yep.
Uh,
The first thing I look for in a house, especially a two-story, when I'm walking through, is once I figure out where all the plumbing is, the first thing I do is start looking up in the ceilings and like, okay, do we have water damage? Do we have previous water damage? Not that I'm an
yeah.
expert, I'm not a home inspector, but I've seen enough houses now where I could spot it and be like, oh, yep, there's a tub, it was leaking. So this is a new thing. What is it called again?
So Schluter's actually been around for a long time,
Oh,
but
okay.
becoming more apparent for people to want to use in their homes, because it's now a little more, it's becoming more available to the public. I mean, Schluter's been around forever, and I learned this because I was in the course today. It seems like a lot of us, but it's just now trending more than it was, because people have more access to information now than they used to. You could go on Instagram and see a guy put a whole shower assembly together in what would be a 30-second clip on Instagram via a reel, and the whole thing is 100% waterproof and he's ready to go. So now
That's
people see that and they're like, I want that.
right, right.
So I feel like that's why that's trending. And then you also have the trends that have been going on now for a little bit: the open floor plans. We're taking down walls. We're making the spaces more inclusive so that everyone can kind of enjoy the spaces together, versus the way homes used to be built, where you had a galley kitchen and it was separated from from the living room, and everything was separate because that's the way it was. Like, everything is a lot more open now.
Hmm.
So that's another trend too that I'm seeing. And
Have you
material.
seen sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
No, no.
I've had this question come up and I've had people say it to me like non-real estate related, but they've said, "Oh, is this?" So when I bought my house, it's my house was flipped, so it was open concept fully. Like You see everything, in the one side of the house, like kitchen, living room, it's all open. Um, do you I personally thought when I started realizing open concept was a thing, in my mind I was like, this is something that's never going away. I
Yeah.
can never imagine people going back, like their living space, and I was like, I can never
Well,
imagine them going back to walls.
yeah.
Now, is that holding true, or are you seeing people wanting to put walls up?
No, I'm seeing people who have like just that little window carved out sometimes in their kitchen now having me come back to make it completely open. Haven't had anyone call me back to add any walls unless they're adding a home office in a space that was open. That's
Mm,
that's another trend that it's been great for me because now I can do a lot of estimates during the day because
right,
homeowners are home because
right.
everyone's working from home. So it's great for the construction industry on my estimating side and my client outreach, side of things. But other than putting walls up to mitigate the open floor plan, I don't see that going in that direction. But I do see the home offices coming into play a lot right now.
Yeah,
Um,
that makes total sense. I mean, people need that office.
yep,
Um, what so like we said, people are sitting on equity. As we know, interest rates are high. Beating a dead horse here. Everybody knows interest rates suck right now. And therefore people are not moving, right?
yeah.
So what are you seeing people do anything to their homes, um may out of the ordinary or ordinary, to expand the living, or expand bedrooms, or expand the living space? Like, what are the things that you're seeing happening a lot because of that? Because people don't want to move and they have the equity and they say, oh, I'll just reconfigure something in my house. Like, what are some of the things you're seeing? And then to follow up on that, suggestions that you might have for simple solutions that maybe are cost effective to do this.
Okay, that's a good question. So expanded kitchens is a big thing that I see. So I recently did a kitchen for a homeowner who probably never did a renovation in that home. They'd been there for their entire lifetime. They were sitting on a lot of equity in the home. And they had a very almost closed off kitchen, but it was a very large space. So we did a nice long accentuated island where now everyone could sit around that island so that while the homeowner is prepping food, it could be more of like an entertainment space that could be shared amongst the guests when they come to their house. Not only is now the kitchen beautiful and it's renovated, but now it's more of a welcoming space where everyone can kind of hang out.
Mm.
So, their words to me were just, "We're not going anywhere, so we want to be able to enjoy this kitchen."
So many people are saying that same thing.
I say, listen, this is the best time. You have the equity in the house. You're ahead of the game with the value. So put a little bit of money into what you're going to enjoy for the lifetime that you're going to be here, and you're going to be happy. So that's one thing I see is what I call them like expanded kitchens. So more inclusive kitchens. So there's more space for everyone to kind of be together while cooking is happening and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've done a few garage conversions
Mm. Tell me
where
about that.
yeah, where I'm converting the garages into living space.
And
And people want
how
to,
much does that entail? Like, I mean, what do you, like, what does it really take for a homeowner to say, all right, I want to convert my garage into living space? Like, what does it need? What needs to be done to make that comfortable for somebody?
so you need all of your electrical, plumbing, HVAC, lighting. But again, a lot of those things have become a lot simpler. So we can do a mini split on the wall to facilitate the air conditioning in that space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we check that all the walls are properly insulated. The house, sometimes the electric panels are already in the garages, so you have easy access to pull circuits into that space. And then it's just a matter of making sure the space lays out the way that they wanted. Sometimes people add a kitchen in there and they want it to be like a small kitchenette and they want to separate their house into a separate apartment and they want to rent that half out
Mm.
because now they want to kind of do like a kind of, I guess, like a house hacking thing, you know what I mean? And they want to
Yeah,
just utilize space because I can't tell you how many people on Long Island use their garage for a car.
I don't
Nobody
know
puts
anybody.
a car in the garage. It's always storage
Yeah.
and stuff that people turn back when I show up and they're like, yeah, we're going to get rid of all this stuff. And I'm like, so this space has just been storage.
Yep. Yep.
So, it could also be Sometimes we take down walls and we'll blow out into that garage to make it bigger living room.
Mhm.
And now you have a much more bigger entertainment space. So it
Right.
doesn't necessarily need to be a bedroom or anything like that. And maybe the HVAC, if it's central air, is already facilitating enough to cover that extra square footage.
Mhm.
Um, so those are also things that people are doing to kind of expand on their existing footprint and just get more out of their home with what they have available via the equity of the home.
And that's definitely a more affordable solution than as opposed to like bumping out or building up,
Eh,
right? I mean, you
Correct.
have you
Yeah.
have your existing footprint, like you said, a mini split's not like a crazy expense to get in there. And yeah, if the guts are there, like you could do it. But it's so funny that you said that about storage because it's like when we have a 2-car garage when we first moved into the house. So my wife immediately was parking in the garage. And then we cleared out and I started parking in the garage and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. I'm like,
Yeah.
you have been underselling this, acting like it's not a big deal. Like, oh my God. I was so pumped to be in the garage. I'm like, this is phenomenal. I don't have to warm my
Yeah.
car. I don't have to worry about it. It was
It's
amazing.
the best.
8 months, however many months, kid on the way, boom, that's it. Storage, everything's got to go in there. Boom, no more
Exactly.
parking. It's over. It's just filled with junk. That's it.
Yep. That's how it happens. And I see it all the time when I'm like, wow, I grew up in a car family. We love classic cars, muscle cars. Our garages are full of cars.
Mm-hmm.
I walk in these people's houses and I say, man, I could fit a nice car in here. And that's just never the case. It's always just storage.
It never works out, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, that's funny. So I like there's so many things that you've touched on already, like with the smart home renovation, the smart home things are huge. The taking of spaces, and I'm sure people are finishing basements too, just to get
Oh,
that
yeah.
extra living space.
Yep. That
Um,
you're right. One that I forgot to mention. Definitely doing, yeah, I'm actually doing two basements over the next 2 months that are exactly that. They just, again, those are also homeowners that have been there for, I think she said she was there for 22 years.
mhm.
Just
Yep.
they're they're like, we want to have this basement available to us. We want to make this a little mini bar over here. We want this space enjoyable.
Yeah. I've
And
seen some crazy basement renovations where it's like, oh my God, like want
yeah,
that.
some awesome stuff we could do downstairs for people for their basements.
Have you ever dug any out yet? Like I've seen a couple of places now where they've dug deeper and like increased the set. Like, I mean, that's got to be a crazy expense, right? To rip up your
That's
foundation.
Yeah, that's huge. I can't say that I've done that yet. I would definitely entertain somebody if they wanted to do that because I love projects. I love things that are out of the box. That's what I did for all the years I was in commercial construction, but
Yeah.
haven't done it yet.
I mean, that to me is just mind blowing already.
It,
Like, it's like, whoa, you're gonna dig down, like you're gonna rip
yeah,
up, like, man, that's like large scale stuff. But that's like, again, if you're gonna do that, why not? I guess at the same time, unless you can't, you're almost probably better off bumping out if you can or going
or
up if you can.
100%. It really depends on the client's budget and what they see value in spending their money. If for some reason they like the rest of the house and they just wish they had, an 8 or 10 foot ceiling in the basement, then I guess that's where their money's best spent.
Yeah, yeah. And this is like, this is the thing that I have some buyers that are like, they're flush with cash, right? Like they have a lot of cash, they have a lot of cash for down payment, but the mindset is the monthly payment, which is good. Like, and I preach that. Like, I preach, like, you want to keep your monthly low. But for some people, it's like, listen, because there's balancing the expectations of what you want in a house. Cause you have a good down payment, you want a low monthly, but like, you want a house that's not turnkey. Like for the budget, you're not going to get a turnkey house, whatever. So I try and get people to wrap their heads around this concept where it's like if you want 4 bedrooms, right? Buy the 3 bedroom where you can in one way or another, either like maybe there's a huge bedroom that you could split into two and make a 4 bedroom,
Yep.
or maybe it's a 3 bedroom, one of those colonials that has the garage next to it. And with the garage, I know because it's on cement already, like you might not have to do crazy foundation reinforcement at that point.
Yeah.
So find the house where you could bump out over the garage because again, like, I mean, that's not cheap. And I like this is what I tell everybody walking through a house. I'm like, look, you could do whatever you want. it just
Yeah.
takes this. Like
Yeah.
you can do whatever you want, but it's like trying to get people. I like that you think outside of the box, because I'm always trying to get my buyers, when they're capable, to think outside the box a little bit. And it's like, look, it doesn't have to be the perfect house. You can transform this house. You just have to be willing to maybe bite a harder monthly payment, not put as much down, save some cash for renovation, etc.
Yeah.
So that's really important in this market, especially.
It is definitely. I mean, I had another client that sometimes clients, what they'll do is I have relationships with home inspectors, and they'll put me in touch with their clients who are interested in buying a home. And they'll say, Sal, so and so put us in touch with you. We're interested in this home. Would you mind coming and looking at this home before we buy it and kind of see if what we think is viable? And I'm always happy to do that because, I'm happy to meet people and see new things. And I had a client who was looking at a house that was exactly what you said. It was a legitimate 3 bedroom, but they wanted more space. But it had a walkout basement with, I think it
Mm.
was like an 8 foot ceiling height. And I was like, and they were like, I was like, listen, if you guys really want that extra basement, there's a way we can put an extra bedroom down here. Now, the legitimacy of that, the permitting and whatnot, that's a whole nother conversation. But if they needed that space, it was a walkout basement. It did have a point of egress. There were no immediate like needs for an egress window or things like that. So like it was the conversation at least that we could have to just say, if you needed it, you could have it. It might
That's
not be
so important.
a bedroom on paper, but like you said, the availability is there. Let's see if we can make that work.
Right. And the best part is, like you said, the permitting, and that's a whole nother story. But if you do it up to code, right, and you can legally then call it a 4 bedroom,
Yeah,
adding a bedroom, I mean, in a basement it might be a little bit more costly if you gotta do the egress or whatever. But if everything's there to keep it within code already, like we don't have to do anything to the foundation, anything like that, adding a bedroom in a basement, like it's floors, walls, and electric, right, and heat, like that's really what you're talking about. That's, I'm gonna guess somewhere less than 20 grand, right? Like,
yeah, you can definitely get that done for less than that. And I did it for another client who did it for the pure reason that she was renting the house. She was leaving and she wanted to grab more income.
right,
Want more income? Add a bedroom. That's the
right,
simple form.
exactly.
And we additional bedroom for her in the basement, and boom, there you go. She had another income coming in because now she could market that as a 4 or 5 bedroom, whatever it was.
Yeah, because if you're selling and you go from a 3 to a 4 bedroom, that spread, you're adding about, like, depending on the area, you could be adding like 40, 50 grand worth of value to the home for a less than $20,000 expense. So
Yeah,
simple numbers, John, give me, somewhere between 10 and $20,000 to do this, and your return is going to be 50. Like, okay, I just made 30 grand. Like, I'm okay
yeah,
with that. Like, I just 30 grand net profit. Like, I'm happy.
yeah. And you just opened that up too to that many more buyers who maybe weren't looking at the house unless it was four.
Mm-hmm.
That side of things. There are people who are like, I only want a four. So
Right.
now your house that was a three would had the potential for a four isn't even being shown to that person.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
Something to
No, it's so important. Like you said, these things are, people need to think outside of the box right now, especially if you're in need of buying a home. Like if you're in need of a 4 bedroom and there's nothing on the market, because there is very little on the market. There are solutions out there. It's just how
yeah,
creative do you want to be with it?
exactly.
I love it. I'll fire off one or two more at you.
Sure.
I always ask this question because, hey, what's up, guys? Sean again. Sorry to bother you and interrupt, but if you like what you're seeing, then please click that like and subscribe button. The great thing about keeping it local is you're meeting local businesses and local entrepreneurs who provide phenomenal service. So this is almost like an initial job interview into someone that you might have in your own home to provide this job or service. So again, if you like what you're seeing, click that like button, click that subscribe button. Other than that, let's get back to the program. Question, because I find it interesting, and this wasn't necessarily what we talked about previously, but are you seeing in your industry and construction, are you seeing any implementations of AI that are helpful or hurtful in what you're doing?
That's a good question.
Sorry, I didn't know. I know that I'm shooting from the hip here,
No,
but I always wonder about it.
it's good because we do 3D renderings for kitchens,
Hmm.
not an AI thing. But
Right.
what I have come across is AI generating software that you could just take a picture of your home, like say the exterior of it, and you could shoot it up on an AI app. You get like 5 revisions for free or something. and you could just choose the look: modern farmhouse, traditional, Tudor, and it'll just populate what your house could possibly look like via AI. And it's good because a lot of times when I meet with clients, I say, what do you want this place to look like? Whether it's a bathroom or a kitchen or the exterior of your house. And I always say, go on Pinterest, go on Google, like get some inspiration. These apps absolutely help people because you can regenerate a whole room. And you say, I want something modern. And then you just take a photo of your room. You have AI generate 5 versions of what they consider a modern living space or a modern exterior renovation. And boom, they could show me that rendering and be like, hey, look, Sal, this is kind of what I want to do.
I
That
love that.
just me and the homeowners hours of countless, research. I did it for a bathroom too, where it was a very ornate bathroom. It had like vaulted ceilings. There was a crown mold. It was a massive bathroom, and the guy just wanted it updated. He had murals all over the ceiling. It was a really crazily done bathroom, but he wanted something different. And I said, you know what? Interior designers are great. My architect is great that I work with. These are all things that the services that people can pay for to use. But we can also start right here with these free, apps that'll generate stuff just to get the ball rolling and get us in the right direction. So that's where I've seen AI kind of do some things that was impressive.
Right. Well, that's really, it's great for idea generation.
Yes.
Like that's what, just exactly what you're saying. I've seen like some of those apps too, where it's like transform your house, like, and just like take a picture and it'll regenerate whatever you want.
Yeah.
And I find it very useful in those types of situations, and it's super helpful and it's great. But the beauty of it is it can never do what you do. It can't, it's not doing the measurements, it's not
Nope.
getting the product, it's not setting up the logistics. Like, and,
Yeah.
and I actually, so I did this recently. I was like, I'm gonna build my own deck, a small deck. Don't yell at me. I'm not handy. Like, it's just, but I watched some YouTube. We'll talk about DIYers in a minute. That's gonna be, or DIYers. That's my last question. But I was like, I didn't want to do the math. So I'm like, all right, figure out how many planks am I going to need? And, it kind of, it screwed it up. Like, you have to be so intricate with your
Yeah.
questioning, and it has to be right. And then I'm like, all right, I'll sit here and do this myself. And it's like, I figured it out, and I was like, oh, I was right. The supercomputer wasn't. Like, wow, hooray. Those, like,
Yep.
no one is ever going to be able to take what you do. I feel like AI will never be able to do what you do, because yeah, there's probably going to be a robot that can build at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. Which would be
And
great.
and there already are.
Yeah.
What'd you say? Go
The
ahead. Sorry.
what I was saying, the robots will be great. I would love to have something that could do that and streamline the process. But the process of dealing with a client and integrating an experience within the construction of your home is something that you cannot generate via a robot or an AI software. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not just building your kitchen, you're along for the ride. This is an experience of you renovating your home. So it shouldn't just be transactional
Mhm.
or just be like robotic. It should be something that you can now say, I worked with Sal and he gave me a great product, but it was also easy. It was fun. We got through it and I learned a lot about my house. I love when people say, I learned so much about my house.
Mhm. Yeah,
To me,
it's a
that's,
learning experience.
you just got like a whole little extra bonus
Mhm.
to working with me,
Yep.
because there was no man behind the curtain. Everything was transparent. It was just, you knew exactly what I was doing. I was explaining to you. I showed you the way your plumbing was ran and why it needed to be changed. And you didn't even know how to shut the water off in your house until I came and I had to shut the water main before I did the demo. Now you walk saying, wow, so if there's ever a problem, I've ever busted pipe, I can shut this main. Yeah, that's the valve you have to hit. Like, these are the type of lessons that you want to have. You want to have that relationship with your contractor, so you learn those things, and that's why I say, to your point, like, AI can be leveraged to benefit people, but I don't think it will replace those experiences.
Nope, definitely not. I totally agree with you. Um, because ultimately the thing that makes, like, you talk about someone who bought a car. The experience was either the worst thing in
Oh,
the world because of the salesman, or it was the greatest thing in the world because of the guy who sold you the car, because you didn't feel slimy afterwards and you felt like, you know what, that just felt like a nice experience where someone treated me right. And that, it's not, I always use car dealerships because it's so
I know.
polarizing. Um,
Yeah.
but that goes for anything. Like, anybody that I'm working with, like, once I've, like, the home inspector I refer now constantly, Ralph Lush, he's the man. Lush Home Inspections, might as well give him a plug. Um, like Ralph had reached out to me years ago during COVID. He's like, "Hey, I saw you're a real estate agent. I'm from Kings Park." But we got to talking,
Yeah.
and he's like, "I'd like, if you want to use me for a home inspection, hey," and I'm like, "You know what? Seems like a good guy. Whatever. I'll test him out. Seems like he has his stuff together." And he was like the best home inspector I saw. And I don't know if it was his first home inspection, the one he did with me, but it was definitely early on in his career. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this guy's great because he's doing exactly what you're saying. He would walk through the house and he educated you on the house. He just
Yep.
told you everything that you should know. He pointed out things that you're going to need to know. Like, he's like, listen, in the future, like, this is something you're going to have to do. This is your water main shut, all that stuff. And I'm like, this guy's the man. Like, and he's a great guy. I'm like, I'm calling this guy for everything. And
Yeah.
that's the experience that you cannot teach a computer to do. You cannot get it through AI. It's learning how to be empathetic and listen to people and treat people the way that they want to be treated when they're paying a premium. They want premium service. And that's what sounds like you're offering. And that's what everybody should be offering.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
I'm going to give you one more question, and it
Yeah.
wasn't on the list either, but it just popped
This
into
is
my head.
great.
What do you say? Well, first of all, I always do this. I premise every question. I am not this guy. I am not a DIY or my wife.
Okay.
My wife won't let me. Like, I'm not very handy. I'm limited in scope of what I could do. I could hang a picture.
Yeah.
That's about it. But what do you say to the DIYer? Yeah. Well, have you ever gone to someone's house who is a DIYer and like the wife has said, we're calling a contractor, and the husband's sitting there like, I could do this, blah, blah, blah. I don't need like, and what is your response to that? Like, what do you tell someone in that situation?
My response to that person is, what is your time worth? Because the time that it would take you as a DIYer is, not that there's anything wrong with it, but we do it every day. So if your wife or your significant other wants this space done, and it's creating a multitude of stress between the two of you, and it's because you can only do it on nights and weekends, and now you don't have any days off, but I could have it done in a week, what's that worth to you? That's how I take care of that, because I'm a DIYer myself. I did my own construction. I do my own work. Prior to this, on my own home, I do my own work. But I also recognize when my driveway needs to be redone that I'm not going to sit out there and set pavers. I'm not going to set 8 pavers every Saturday for 9 months. It's just not going to get done. So there are certain projects that you have to know, when you're not throwing the towel in, you're just making the right decision in what you're in utilizing your time. So that's kind of how I navigate the DIY thing. And, certain projects are DIY worthy. If you want to, do a little extra tile backsplash on your laundry room, and you want to throw some subway tile in on the weekend, definitely a DIY thing. If you want to relocate your washing machine to the other side of your basement and you want to fit it all out, that's not something that's going to happen over a weekend.
Yeah, it's probably not the best like thing to watch on YouTube and be like, okay, I could do this.
So that's kind of how I approach that situation, because I respect everybody who's willing to try, and I never fault anybody for being somebody who wants to do things themselves and learn. It's just, like I said, certain projects are warranted for that, and they're worth the time. What's it worth? And it's funny because my family we're all do-it-yourselfers. That's what we do. My first renovation I did on my part, I did it all myself, and but there were certain things like, I hung all the drywall, but I wasn't going to sit there and learn how to spackle.
Mm.
It wasn't something that's going to be like I ever utilize again in my life. So for me, it was like, I'd rather get the professional in there who can knock this out in 2 days, and then I can paint.
Right. But
So
you have this background too. Like, you have
yeah,
construction back. Like if you wanted to figure out spackle, I'm sure you could do it. Like, you could probably
yeah,
figure out anything that involves construction. But there are people that do stuff where I'm like, you should not be doing this. Like, I know you. Like, you should not be taking on this job. Like, just call
yeah.
somebody.
That's the best way to approach that for me, is just try to strategically let them know that I don't think your time is going to be well spent doing that. I think your time is more well spent doing these other things where I can get that done for you. You're going to pay, but you're going to enjoy it. Now, if it's your backyard patio, if it's something like that, like, you can enjoy this for the rest of the summer, or you could build this for the rest of the summer.
That's the selling point right there. Yep. You want this now, or do you want this when you're finally done with it? And it's
Yeah.
true though. It's a very elegant and courteous way of putting it, is like, because you're putting it back on the person and saying, hey, listen, if you want to spend your time doing this and that's going to make you happy, then you go right ahead and do it. But if you
Yeah.
just want this done so you could be happy and enjoy it, like, that's what I'm here for. That's a great way of putting it.
Exactly. That's exactly how I do it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, it's the perfect, to me. It's like if I was sitting here and you said that to me, because you touched on like one of my, you didn't touch a nerve, like one of my things that I always consider with almost everything I do now is time versus value. That's it. Like, do I spend the time to do this, or and save on the value if it's monetary, or do I get the time and spend the money to do it? And it's like, I almost want to write a book just about like time versus value, and just like measure everything, and it's like, okay, like, here's what you should do, here's what you
Yeah.
shouldn't do. Like, if you're like me who can't do diddly squat, like construction wise, like, you shouldn't do any of that. you know
Yeah.
but like washing the car, it's like, should I spend an hour washing and cleaning the car? It depends. Usually, no. I'm gonna go to the car wash. It takes 8 minutes, and like, it's gonna cost me $25, but I'm done. And then I could go to the park with my kids. I could do something like that. But that's the way I have to look at life now. It's like, do time versus money. That's it. Like,
That's what it is.
yeah, for everybody. It's unfortunate that those are the circumstances in which we live, but it is what it is. We all got to get by, and we all got to find time so we don't lose our minds either.
You're 100% right.
Oh, thanks. That's my favorite thing to hear. All right. Well, listen, Sal, it's been great talking to you. I've chewed your ear for an hour. Um, what is the best way that people can contact you if they see this and they decide, I want Sal to come in and, take a look, or give me some ideas about a bathroom or a kitchen or a complete gut job? What should they do?
So they could always call me directly on my cell phone, 631-636-9719. You could definitely reach me on Instagram too, Reliant Renovations. Shoot me a message there. And I manage all the social media from my company too. So if you message me via social media, you're messaging me. You're not messaging, a third party or anything like that. Like I manage all of that. So yeah, you can get in touch with me any of those ways. And, I look forward to hearing from anybody who's interested in collaborating with me on projects, whether it's just for a little bit of insight, or if they want to do, a full on project at their home, reach out to me. I'm happy to meet new people, meet new clients, and see what people want to do to their homes.
Awesome. All right. Well, Sal, listen, it's been phenomenal talking to you. You
It
are a
was
wealth of knowledge, and you exude professionalism and knowledge, which is, to me, like, huge with construction, because like, I would feel comfortable knowing that, like, I could tell that when you walk into someone's house, you tell them straight, there's no BS, there's no nonsense. You're honest. You seem like a great guy. So definitely someone to give a ring if they need any kind of work done. They should definitely call you.
Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and thank you for having me here, man. This has been great, and it's been a pleasure talking to you as well. And you asked some great questions, and I really enjoyed this. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, hey, no worries. It's like 90% of my day is spent asking questions, so I better be decent at it.
Good.
All right, that does it for episode 17. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.